they were overrun by Islamic forces, and they went all over the world in different directions. But the only place the Parsis survived was in India. And when they came to Gujarat, they were received, and after that they lived with complete harmony with the Hindu population. So therefore, to say that this religion can be communal, it can be terrorist, it's absurd, because that's not the history. We don't believe in converting anybody. If anyone wants to join the Hindu, there's no ceremony. You can say, I'm a Hindu, and you will become that. It is part of this great tradition that Chanakya wrote his Arthashastra. Of course, there was also he wrote on Niti, and this we did not realize during the intervening period of foreign invasions. And once again, Arthashastra was discovered in 1915, and it took a long time, almost 20 years, before the world began to accept that this is indeed an ancient text. Today there are a number of books which are available on Chanakya Niti and Chanakya's Arthashastra. Chanakya was actually teaching economics. He was a great acharya. One day he went to the darbar of the Nanda dynasty, and there he was not treated properly. And he took a vow that those rajas who have the hubris to humiliate a scholar, that kingdom should not remain, and there should be another kingdom. And he then selected a boy called Chandragupta, who was a herdsman. I mean, he used to tend to goats, and educated him. And when he became a young man, he formed an army, toppled the Nandas, and established the Chandragupta Empire. When was this period? This period, according to British historians, is 4th century AD. But actually, it is much earlier, in 350, around 350 BC, much earlier period. British, of course, changed all dates in our history. Even today it is being taught wrongly, because they couldn't believe that anything can be older than the Bible. So everything must be after that. So the chronology was changed. But we know now, by the new techniques of dating our history, that our history is much more ancient. I recently had this occasion of arguing in the Supreme Court on the Ram Setu issue. And the British had called Ram Setu as Adam's Bridge. And I was surprised why it should be named Adam's Bridge. And the British books, or those whom the British educated in our country to write books on history, they said it is Adam's Bridge because Adam came from heaven. He was pushed out from heaven. He landed in India and he walked across to Sri Lanka. So therefore it is Adam's Bridge. If he walked across to Sri Lanka, there must have been a bridge before Adam's. But it was named Adam's Bridge. It is actually was built on Rama's instructions, and two great architects, including Hanuman's brother Nala and others persevered and built it. When you read Valmiki and go to this place, you will see how accurate Valmiki has described the whole thing. Valmiki says that Rama came, he reached Dhanushkodi. You know that our coastline is there. After that, an island is there which is sometimes called Pamban Island, sometimes called Rameshwaram Island. And that island ends in Dhanushkodi, in the middle of the ocean dividing India and Sri Lanka. And Rama reached there and saw ocean there. How will he cross it? So he did puja for 3 days to Samudra Raja, saying, please part the waters so that I can walk across. And Samudra Raja didn't pay any attention to him, ignored his prayers. So then Rama got angry and he said that if he cannot respond to my prayers, then he must be suffering from ego. And so he took out his bow and arrow and took out his Agni Ban, as it's called, and he wanted to evaporate the entire waters of the Pak Strait. And that's why you see sometimes pose of Rama with his arrow standing in Dhanushkodi. Then the Samudra Raja came up from the ocean and he said, please don't do it, don't get angry. You may be angry with me, but you will kill all these fishes and all the other living beings in the ocean. I know what you are looking for. You are looking to cross. Below the ocean level is a ridge. And on the ridge, if you put some stones on it, then you can build a causeway and you can walk across. And those stones, Rama said, where will I get those stones? He said, on the corner of the ocean, of this coast of India, you will find coral rocks. These corals are not made out of stone and mud. They are made out of fusing of fish bones and shells and all these things. And that's why it is called coral, not a rock, but a coral. And its speciality is that if you put it in water, it floats. So Rama sent Hanuman and his army to pick up all the stones and bring them and put it on. And Valmiki describes that on top of the ridge, this was put. Of course, in the beginning, Hanuman was perplexed because when he put the stone, it began floating. And even today, if you take out one of these corals from the Ramasetu and leave it in water, it floats. So whatever was described in Valmiki is there. And therefore, Ramasetu is a historical fact. And fortunately for me and for all of us, the Supreme Court agreed with my argument and ruled that if the government wants to build a canal called Setu Samudram project, then they must do it without touching Ramasetu and must find an alternative route. So I am saying that all these things, we are talking about Chanakya is not a mythical person. He was a person of historical reality. His contribution are many. Once he made Chandragupta the king. Alexander and his army came on the western coast, on the western borders. And Chanakya took the entire army of Magad all the way to the western frontier to fight. So that time a question was asked of Chanakya, why we should go and fight there, so far away. It is at that time Chanakya describes India as a republic. He says India is a land of Janapadas. Bharat, as he calls it, is a land of Janapadas. And in times of war, there must be a Chakravarti. And that Chakravarti will unite the whole country to face that war. So there is no question of that being so far away. Today the most powerful king is Chandragupta, and this Chandragupta must act as a national leader in the form of a Chakravarti. And that's how he took the army. The British historians and the Greek historians said Alexander defeated some Porus and all that. Now that is all nonsense. There is no stuff in that. Alexander was defeated and he was heartbroken, and halfway on his way back he died. And Chanakya once again established that India was a country which is decentralized, but when times of war comes, we all become one. And that feeling has gone on. Even today I am telling you, when there is a crisis, Indians become one. My argument is, why wait for a crisis? Become before the crisis. I have been many times to China, and the Chinese people once, and became my friends with China, when I asked them to open Kailash Mansarovar route for pilgrims, they opened. After 35 years, the route was opened. I myself went to Kailash. And that's also a historic place for us. On the way there is a big lake which is bigger than Mansarovar, and that is called Ravan Haranga. So I asked the Chinese guide who was taking me, why this is called Ravan Haranga? He said Haranga in Tibetan means Sarovar, that is a lake. I said, who is this Ravan? He said, he is somebody who came from India. So I said, okay, before going to Mansarovar, I will have a bath in this Ravan Haranga. He said, no, don't have a bath in it, because you will get all kinds of itches on your body. The water is like that. Then I said, okay, let me at least sip that water. He said, no, if you sip the water, you will be poisoned. You will die. So I filled a bottle of water from Ravan Haranga and took it back. And when I went to Madras, I gave to Karunanidhi. I said, you are a great admirer of Ravan. Please drink it and show it to me. You can see live history. Chanakya founded this country with a clear idea of what Bharatvarsh is. And he described how it should be ruled. He gave many ideas through his Arthashastra and his Niti, book on Niti. And the difference between Chanakya and very commonly compared person of Chanakya is Machiavelli. Machiavelli was the most immoral person. He favored telling lies, he favored cheating, he favored everything for the sake of the nation. But Chanakya was not like that. He was a highly moralistic person. He advocated decentralization of society, he advocated decentralization of polity, and he said that the country can best be ruled if we have decentralization. This Varna Vyavastha, you see, that is this caste system as it's popularly called, it is originally a decentralization of power. Unfortunately, it has become rigid and fossilized, and so it has become now an obstacle in our unity. What is the original concept? Chanakya beautifully describes it. It was originally founded by two rishis, Bhrigu and Bhardwaj. And they said, and Rishi Bhrigu in particular said, that there are four sources of power in a society. And to avoid concentration of power, we should distribute these amongst the people. No one should have all these 4 sources or 3 sources or even 2 sources. Only have one source. What were these sources of power? First was knowledge, which is a source of power. Second was weapons, another source of power. Third is wealth, another source of power. And fourth is land, that is another source of power. And the idea of decentralization is that those who have knowledge will not have weapons, will not have wealth, will not have land. And that is the group we called as the Brahmin. And Brahmin was not by birth. It had got spoiled in between somewhere, it has got connected with birth. Brahmin is one who pursues knowledge, does not have any wealth, and for his sustenance he will beg. And he does not have weapons, but the king will be afraid of him because of his moral authority. Like Chanakya, the kings used to be afraid of him. And he will not have any land. And this was put as the highest form of endeavor by a human being, the pursuit of knowledge. Then came the king, who had weapons, but he could not make policy. Policy was made by the Brahmins. And therefore, India was a genuine republic long before, because the authority of the state, the king, did not have the power to make policy. Policy was made by those with knowledge. That is the concept of republic today. And similarly, those who have made wealth, they will not enjoy social status because they made wealth. Those who possess land must produce for the people, not for profiteering. Even those who were pushed out of society and later came to be called as untouchable, their children were not untouchable. For instance, Valmiki was the son of Dalit parents, but he became a scholar, he became a Maharishi, he wrote the Ramayana. Vedavyasa, his mother was a fisherwoman, but he became a Maharishi, wrote the Mahabharata. Our greatest poet was Kalidasa. Kalidasa was in the forest, he used to be cutting branches of trees. He became the greatest poet. Vishwamitra was born of Kshatriya parents, but he became the Rishi of Rishis. And similarly, if you are a Brahmin and you broke the law, you are not above the law. Ravan was a Brahmin. Most people don't know that. Karunanidhi never knew that he was a Brahmin. One day he told me that, you see, Brahman was a Tamil, a Dravida, and this Rama, he's an Aryan, and he was a Brahmin. Rama was not a Brahmin, he was a Kshatriya. Karunanidhi's knowledge is not very good. So he said he came from north and he killed him. So I told him that Ravan was a Brahmin. He went to Mansarovar, he did puja there, tapasya there. Lord Shiva gave him a varam, as it's called in Tamil. He gave him a boon, became very powerful. Ravan was not from Sri Lanka. Ravan was from the borders of Delhi, a place called Noida nowadays. He was born there. His wife Mandodari was born in Meerut. But after he went to Mansarovar and Kailash, he became very powerful. He came and saw that time the most developed part of India was Sri Lanka. In those days it was considered part of India. And Kuber had made it into a golden place. So he became jealous why Kuber should have it, and he used all his powers to conquer Sri Lanka and became the king of Sri Lanka. So therefore, but though he was a Brahmin, he broke the moral law of kidnapping Sita, and he was killed by a Kshatriya, Rama. And the country's Brahmins did not say, oh, Rama killed one of our Brahmins, and therefore we are against Rama. No, they all Hindus worship Rama because he fought against evil, against a person who had broken a law. This is what Chanakya describes in his book. He says Varna is not based on anything except gunas. A person will get the fruits of his karma. There is no such thing as birth. Very clearly he says that. And therefore he says that whatever you achieve in life is because of your karmas, present and past. And if you have committed bad karmas and you have not suffered for it, then it will be carried over to the next life, and then you will have to live it. And if you got good karmas, you will be rewarded. This is the structure of the human being that he describes. Chanakya also said one thing which also talks about, reflects on our present history. He said, if you have to do your duty and take up your task, never think of failure. Fight on and do your duty. Now, in our country, you will notice two things if you think deeply. You go to Rajasthan, you will find that the people of Rajasthan worship Rana Pratap. But Rana Pratap was not successful in battle. In fact, he ended up in the forest and he didn't have anything. So he used to take grass and make it into chapati. Of course, grass has a lot of protein, so it was good chapati for health. But he was living on that. His cousin brother Man Singh in Jaipur, he once came to see him, to saying, Akbar has sent me a message that if you accept him as the Badshah of India or the Emperor of India, then he will give you back everything, all your palaces, everything. And see, he says, that I have accepted Akbar as the Badshah of India, and everything I have, I'm enjoying, I have the whole Jaipur palace, everything I live. So why don't you do this? He said, no, I cannot accept Akbar as the Badshah of India. So he said, you mean you're going to spend all your life eating this chapati of grass? Why you want to do this? What will you get out of this? So he said, what will I get out of this? Future generations, mothers will name their sons after me, but they'll spit on your name. And that's what it is today. Rana Pratap is worshipped. Similarly, Rani Jhansi did not give you any victory. But her heroism has made you worship her as a great leader. Subhash Chandra Bose did not lead you to victory, but he is worshipped. It's not that we are against victory. Shivaji brought you victory. So therefore, we worship him all the more. But the fact is that the value you must see. We worship the heroism, the sacrifice. And that is what Chanakya says, that the most important value is doing your duty and not being afraid of failure. Failure and success was not the touchstone of how you regarded a human being. Another thing you will notice, and I noticed this first when I came to this country as a a student to get my PhD at Harvard. And my classmate was an American. He asked me, "Can you tell me one thing? Why do Indians follow Mahatma Gandhi?" So I said, "Why not? What is wrong with him?" He said, "He doesn't dress properly." So I said, "In your country, leaders dress properly?" He said, "Yes, in our country, you must have wonderful suit, boot, tie, shining shoes. Then only we will." Then I thought about it. Yes, the fact that we don't, we never looked at how well dressed Mahatma Gandhi is. On the contrary, because he was only wearing a laboti and a shawl over his chest, we thought there was a great sacrifice on his part. And the same thing later on we found with Jayaprakash Nayan. Mahatma Gandhi was not an exception. I also found that the religious leaders of the West, like say the Pope, he will be wearing a satin gown with a diamond necklace, ruby necklace, sapphire necklace, and the cap he will put on his head will have jewels studded. Whereas our sadhus, the biggest sadhus we have, they are very ordinary Bhagavad. Look at Ramdev today, such a big following, but what he's not dressed in satin and diamond necklaces. Or Sri Ravi Shankar, or Swamy Dayananda Saraswati, the Shankaracharyas, all so simply dressed. This is the character which Chanakya also says, that the more you grow in society, the simpler you must be in your outlook. So, by the way, one of the things now the pediatricians in America are accepting, Chanakya has put it in his book. He said, how to bring up children. He said, don't discipline them till the age of 5. Age of 5, just give them love and nothing else. Let them do any mischief, anything. After the age of 5, you should start disciplining them, and after the age of 16, you should treat them as equal. Today, pediatricians say that the most formative period of the child is from 0 to 5. And that is why you should encourage him to ask questions. To some extent in America, I see children saying, why? But in India, if one child keeps saying, why, the parents will smack him and say, keep quiet, listen to what you have to say. It creates inhibition. To have a mind which is ready to think of new things, it is that formative period of 0 to 5. Chanakya also says, not in the language I am presenting to you, that intelligence is a multidimensional concept. What is this multidimensional concept? Today if you go to education department of famous well-known universities here, you will learn it. There is something called cognitive intelligence. Learning mathematics, physics, chemistry, syntax of grammar, these are called cognitive intelligence. And we place emphasis today in India only on cognitive intelligence. But there are other intelligences also, which our Rishi Munis knew it. Chanakya refers to it. And that is that there is something called emotional intelligence. Now in the Western countries it's called emotional intelligence. If you want to know what emotional intelligence is, you can go to Google and type it and you will get a number of books that you can buy on that subject. Emotional intelligence is to be able to speak in such a way that you win over the other side. You don't want to speak in a way where you antagonize the other side. And that requires skill. And once you are able to do that, you will capture the mind of the people. But then is added a moral intelligence also. Because emotional intelligence, if you are an expert in it and you don't have moral intelligence, then you can become a maniac. Hitler had emotional intelligence and he used to mesmerize people when he talked. People wanted to obey him. But then he had no moral intelligence. What is moral intelligence? To tailor your actions in such a way that it is morally correct according to your moral system. Our Rishi Munis also spoke about spiritual intelligence. What is spiritual intelligence? The knowledge is available in this world. It is in the cosmos. And if you can train your mind to connect with that cosmos, you will become a genius. This is called neural Wi-Fi. If you have a neural Wi-Fi, you can connect to this cosmos. And that's why it is meditation, yoga, all these things the rishis invented so that your mind goes outside the boundaries and connects to this huge reservoir of knowledge which is the cosmos. Today, spiritual intelligence is being taught in the education departments of Harvard and Berkeley and all these places. So I'm pointing out to you, it's not an easy topic. Chanakya was such a multifaceted person. He writes about corruption. And he says that there are 40 ways to be corrupt. Well, today's Indian politician can teach Chanakya a lesson by pointing out 4,000 ways to be corrupt. But he says that how corruption can be wiped out. So he gives two suggestions. Suggestion number one, that it is better to catch the Raja first or the minister first, then only the common man. He says corruption flows from top to bottom. So you clean up the top, the bottom will clean up itself. And two, he says, that if you find a corrupt person and catch him, then don't spare him, give him the maximum sentence possible. In that respect, I think the Americans are practicing that. On 8th of January 2008, two press conferences took place in the world, well-known press conferences. One was in New York and the other was in Hyderabad. The New York press conference was addressed by Bernard Madoff. I think you may remember his name. He said, I have sinned by playing with the pension funds and the stock market and cheated and so on. And now I am ready to face any punishment. At the same time, coincidentally, in Hyderabad, Ramalinga Raju of Satyam was addressing a press conference. And he said, I have fiddled with the accounts and siphoned off funds. Now I feel bad. I am resigning from Satyam and I am ready to face any punishment. So, both were confessing. In 6 months' time, Bernard Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in the American court on a series of charges, one after the other. Not concurrently, but serially. 150 years he is in jail today. But Satyam's Ramalinga Raju, he is living in air-conditioned comfort on bail in his house. He has still not been even charged. So, if you want to control corruption, what Chanakya had said is, make sure that you will, when you catch the person, you will throw the book at him. You will give such severe punishment that you will never do it. I mean, it will be a lesson for everybody. No leniency. And India was a non-corrupt society for a long time. How do we know? Take the Chinese Buddhists who came to India. 1,700 years ago, Fascian came to India. And Fascian records that the one most significant fact about India is such honest people. When they go out to their houses, they don't lock their houses, he said. And if you leave by mistake something in their house, they will chase you and locate you and return it to you. Same thing 700 years later, Yuan Chuang, as he is called in Chinese, he came to India and he wrote the same thing. So did Vasco da Gama. He says the most honest people on earth are the Indians. Mark Twain came much later, 600 years ago, and he said the same thing. Somewhere along the line, from being the most corrupt, most honest people, we have become the most corrupt people. And therefore, what is that it went wrong? What went wrong is what Chanakya mentions. And again, I go back to the Varna system, which today I don't advocate because it has become so fossilized, you can't reform it. The best thing is scrap it and say you're Hindu and nothing else. We are just Hindus and that's our identity. I will welcome Muslims and Christians also to our ranks, provided they accept what is the truth, which is that their ancestors are Hindus. How do I know this? By DNA. Indians have now been completely mapped by DNA, by research done by University of Cambridge, University of Houston, University of Mysore. So many people have done research. And they found that Indians have the same DNA, whether they are in Kashmir or they are in Kanyakumari. Some people think, oh, color, skin color is so different. Well, skin color has got nothing to do with race. It has got to do with pigmentation and how that pigmentation responds to the sun. So if you are near the equator, your skin color is bound to be darker than if you are up in the north. So this test has been done and therefore there is no difference between a Brahmin DNA and a scheduled caste DNA, no difference between a Hindu DNA and a Muslim or a Christian DNA. There is no difference between a North Indian DNA and a South Indian DNA. All this Aryan, Dravidian theory is all bogus. This is all British inspired theory. The word Aryan does not there in any Sanskrit, in any of our religious books. Arya is there. Arya means gentleman. It's got nothing to do with Aryan and race. Dravida is a word invented by Shankaracharya when he said that two, it's a sandhi of two words, Tra and Vid, which essentially means where the three oceans meet or the three coasts meet. And that means South India. Dravid means South India. And Arya means gentleman. In Tamil, instead of saying Arya, we say Ayya. That's the only difference. So, and I have myself practically seen this. There was one young politician in Maharashtra, Bombay, called Raj Thakre. He was running a campaign that all these UP walas taxi walas should go back. They are taking our jobs. We Marathi people are suffering. So I told a friend of mine, you know Raj Thakre well, you get me a sample of his hair. Because you can test DNA by hair also. You don't need blood. So he said, yeah, I go to hair cutting salon with him sometimes. So next time he goes, I'll take his sample. So he got me his hair sample. Then I paid 10 rupees to a UP taxiwala in Bombay and said, give me a sample of your hair. He thought I was mad, but 10 rupees. He said, if you want more also, I can give you for So I got the two samples, I got it tested in Hyderabad and found their DNA the same. So I came and announced in a press conference that Raj Thackeray is also from UP because his DNA is the same as the UP taxi wala. If he wants to contradict me, ask him to come to the stage where I am, and in front of everybody I will have it by a mobile testing unit, I will test his DNA. After that he has not opened his mouth. So I am telling you that this one factor we must realize that we are one people and that one people must be welded together. We are, our Chanakya's Arthashastra theory is that you must make material progress, but it should be accompanied by spiritual values. Should be harmonized with it. That is why Brahmin has no wealth, but he has got the highest status in society. Mahatma Gandhi had nothing, he didn't even have proper clothing, but highest respect in society. The richest people, there was nothing wrong in making money, but your social status will not depend on money. And therefore, if the social status depended on money, like it is becoming today, like it is becoming in the Western countries, then what will happen? Then people become greedy because they want more money so that they get the higher social status. And that's what leads to corruption. If you want, why India was not corrupt society, it's not there was better policemen or better ministers. It is because we had accepted the theory that we, Hindus, will not pursue material prosperity at the cost of everything else. We will have spiritual values to balance us. We will not decide social status on the basis of money. Muslims and Christians, if they accept that their ancestors are Hindus, they can become part of the same family as we Hindus are. Problem will only arises if they say they are descendants of Muhammad Ghori and Ghazni or Robert Clive or something like that. Then there is a problem. It's not true. The truth is that Hindus, Muslims, Christians are all the same people. It doesn't matter if they are worshipping through Jesus Christ or through the Quran or Muhammad. That doesn't bother a Hindu. But this distinction that we are separate, we are different, that's what is causing much of the problem. Today I am surprised to see in the papers of Pakistan, the Pakistan is saying the biggest mistake we made is identify ourselves with the Middle East, with Saudi Arabia, with Persia. We today can survive only if we accept that we are 99.9% of Hindu descent. This is coming in Pakistan. Of course, the terrorists don't like this, these fanatics don't like it, because they don't want the Hindus and Muslims to work to be together. So they don't want to be a different people. No problem. So I am saying today to you that if you want to remove corruption, then you must follow this value of Sanatana Dharma, which Chanakya repeatedly mentions, which is that material progress must be balanced with spiritual values. No other economic theory says that. Capitalism, only capital, capital, capital. There is no spiritual values in it. Marxism, state, control of all resources, and then state will decide. Socialism, high taxation, take the money and give to people, redistribute income. All the other ideologies of economics, they are all materialistic. The only theory which we have today, which is different, is this. I don't mind material progress if it leads to happiness. Does it lead to happiness? We find today all our sadhus and sannyasis They are having their ashrams full of foreigners. Many of them even converting. For example, there is a very famous film actress called Julia Roberts. You must have heard of her, Oscar winner. One day she came for shooting into Haryana. Then she said, I want to visit ashram. So the people in the shooting crew took her to the ashram. And there she told the sadhu, I am owner of millions of dollars. I have won so many awards, but I am not happy. Why I am not happy? I was told that in Hinduism I can find an answer. So the sadhu said, you will have to stay 10 days in this ashram, then only I can tell you. So she stayed 10 days. And then first he taught her pranayam, then he taught her some asanas and yoga, then some mantras, and finally he gave her a discourse on Vedanta. She was so transformed that when she went back to America, she called a press conference with her husband and children present and said, from today onwards I have become a Hindu because that's the only way to be happy. That's why I am a Hindu. You see here, yoga is now widespread. People are doing meditation, learning meditation. There's Stephen Jobs, who was Apple owner. He was a complete vagabond. He had dropped out of college and all. He went to Varanasi and Neem Karoli Baba's ashram. He learned some mantras, then he went to the Buddhists and Sarnath. And when he came back, he was a transformed man. Happiness does not come from material wealth. And if material wealth is what you pursue, you will be greedy. If you become greedy, you will be corrupt. So fighting corruption is that way. So I would ask you today to think about this issue. Nowadays in America, I find books are being written. There's a former student of mine at Harvard called Benjamin Friedman, written a book on moral aspects of economic growth, where he says the object of economic growth should not be to provide you more pleasure, but to create leisure for you so you can pursue spiritual and moral values. New books are coming like this. In Newsweek there was an article by Lisa Miller, editor, where the headline was, "Now we are all Hindus." Why? Because she says that these concepts that are there, rational people think that is correct. All religions lead to God. Yes, it's not there in Christianity, it's not there in Judaism, it's not there in Islam. But it seems rational that, religion, you can pursue any different way. Same thing on cremation, she has written about. There's much more scientific to have cremation than, bury people and so on. So there is a growing feeling, and that's why the ashrams today in India are full of foreigners and wealthy foreigners. Even here there now Swamijis are coming here to have ashrams. And people here are become so undiscriminating on Swamijis that anybody with the name Swami, they go after. They even telephone me to ask me whether I will give some money. I think I can make more money by setting up an ashram here than by being a professor. But people are unhappy. The Western world has not produced happiness in the public, in their people. It is because the philosophy is like that. So when you ask for global impact, I would say this globalization, if globalization only means making more money, you're not going to be able to be happy. Happiness will come not in material prosperity alone. You must need material prosperity, nobody's saying no. But you should produce for the nation and for yourself whatever minimum you need. That is the concept on which it is based. So, what should we do? We are today having a meeting in the backdrop of a Hindu Unity Day. I would say Hindu unity, if I were to take the essence of, you see, after all, Chanakya wrote this book when in 300 BC. A lot of things have happened, so I have to reinterpret what he says. When he says Chakravarti, Janapadas, all united under Chakravarti, what does it mean? We had, by the way, concepts which need to undergo change. Why did we lose battle against visiting foreigners who came? It is because our laws of war were not proper for fighting the foreigner. What is our law of war? You will not start the battle before the sun rises, and you will cease fire when the sun sets, and come back to your tent and go to sleep for the night. Second was, you will not fight a battle in the agricultural field, you will not fight a battle in the cities, in population centers. And third thing was that if after losing you apologize to the other side, to the victorious king, he will give back everything to you and send you off. And Prithviraj Chauhan sent off Muhammad Ghori how many times? 16 times or something like that. That was foolish of him. Should have sent, once he could have forgiven, but 16 times? Not more than once. And today's terrorists you should not even forgive once. And when they came at morning 3 a.m. This is, you can read what the chroniclers of Muhammad Ghori said. That he realized after some time that the best time to attack is 3 a.m. because the Indian that time is getting up to go to have his bath and do his ablution. That's the time you should catch him. And to attack the population centers, create confusion, destroy the crops. This is the kind of thing that we were not prepared. The first king who recognized that yes, now the rules have changed was Shivaji. And that is why when Afzal Guru called him for dinner, he said, no, all this Shishtachar is not for me. He went there with his poisoned fangs, brass fangs, and when Afzal Guru said, come let's embrace, he killed him. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote, this is the most outrageous act, and so on. But the fact is that if he had not killed Afzal Khan would have killed him. So rules of war have to change. Today we have to change that. Today we have to do differently. We are today suffering because we have not developed a clear identity. What is India? India is not only Janapadas and Chakravarti, but that Chakravarti will propagate what? I will say that India is legally or politically can be called Bharat. But culturally it is Hindustan. And Hindustan means we are Hindus or those others who acknowledge proudly that their ancestors are Hindus. This is the identity of a Hindustani. We have to have this identity. We have been fed into this thing, we are all separate countries, the British put us together. That is not true. We were one country throughout. If I say this is a Hindustani culture, or even a Hindu culture, people say then what about Muslim culture and Christian culture, where does it fit in? Well, if Ganga river flows and so many rivers join it, well, they all fuse into that river. But the river will still be called Ganga. It will not be called Ganga, Jamuna, Saraswati, this thing, you see. So Muslims have contributed, agreed. Christians have contributed, agreed. But the mainstream is Hindu. And that means certain Hindu values, respecting the parents, respecting age, respecting that all have God within them, we are all born equal. So many of these Hindu concepts which we are beginning to forget, this has to come. So the identity of India must be defined clearly. I am saying this because there are so many scholars in America and other places who are trying to say that India is not one identity but many identities. Yes, there are many identities. We have a Tamil identity, we have a Telugu identity, but there is an overriding identity called Indian. And that Indian is there innate in us, we don't realize it. The Chinese once asked me, how is it that in 1962, the Indians responded so differently from what we thought. So I said, why? What did you think? They told me that they were told that India is a disparate country, and if the Chinese army gives one blow, it will break into 20 countries. And instead of breaking into 20 countries, we found all Indians have got together. Even women are taking out their gold bangles and putting it in the defense fund. They said, we could not imagine how this is. That's the undercurrent. In 1977, people told us that elections are being held, Indira Gandhi will win easily because the opposition is what? They all come in jail, they have no money, they have nothing. Indira Gandhi is all powerful. But what we found, people not only voted, but they defeated Indira Gandhi in Raebareli. And these are illiterate people of Uttar Pradesh. In fact, the literate people of South India voted for Indira Gandhi. And if the illiterate people of North India had not voted out the Congress, we would not have got democracy today. So there is a cultural base where we think of ourselves as one. And I have seen in crisis after crisis how Indians become one. So first thing is that. Second, I would say, please recognize today that we need, today I am speaking to you in English. English is an international language, we must learn it. But over the coming years, you will find increasingly the West starting to use Sanskrit as a language for many of its purposes. One purpose is artificial intelligence. For computers today, NASA has declared that ultimate goal will be to store knowledge in the language of Sanskrit because it is the one language where words have precise meaning and the Devanagari script is very precise in pronunciation. And in 50 years from now, Sanskrit will become like the old days German and French used to be, a compulsory language for learning. Our identity is Sanskrit. And Sanskrit words are there in every language. I have repeatedly said Tamil has got 41% of the words are from Sanskrit. Even Mr. Karunanidhi's name is Sanskrit. Karunanidhi. So, this is the one thing that the British consciously eliminated Sanskrit. To some extent, the Mughals also did it by Persian. But the British systematically removed Sanskrit. Because they have said so themselves in their file notings which are now available in the British Museum, that Sanskrit is a uniting factor, it must be removed. Third thing is, you must have a correct version of Indian history in your mind. We are not a new country, we are not in 1947, we are a country which was an ancient country, it's the only continuing civilization. And we have withstood that, all the attacks. Take for example Islamic invasion. When Islam went and attacked Iran, in 15 years they made Iran into a 100% Muslim country. When Islam went to Babylon and Mesopotamia, which is now called Iraq, in 17 years they made it 100% Muslim. Egypt in 21 years they made it 100% Muslim. Christians made Europe in 50 years 100% Christian. But India, 800 years of Muslim rule, 200 years of Christian rule, and you are still 83% of the population. What does it mean? Because you fought throughout. As I told you, our rules of warfare were not right. But there was fighting everywhere. Whether it's Rana Pratap or Shivaji or the Vijayanagaram Empire or Rani Chennamma or Kattabomman, Rani Jhansi, every year there was revolt. They didn't accept. And had the British not come, the Marathas would have established a Hindu empire in Delhi. By the time the British came, the people of India were completely tired and depleted. And so they were able to overpower and take over. So I am saying that therefore you must learn your correct history. Then only you can call yourself as a legatee or a descendant of the great traditions of Chanakya. Finally, I will say, it's not enough to be a Hindu. There are many good Hindus. Mahatma Gandhi was a great Hindu, but he was a Sattvic Hindu. Today we don't need a Sattvic Hindu. We need a Virat Hindu. Mahatma Gandhi was a believer in dealing with the British through Satyagraha, where the British didn't feel threatened as such, but he changed the mind of people. So we appreciate him. He is a person who transformed the struggle for freedom to a mass movement by changing the mind of the people. But today the conditions are such that we need to become Virat Hindus. Just as Chanakya went to the borders of beyond Punjab and fought the Greeks, therefore today we have to go to the same way to the frontiers, and that means becoming a Virat Hindu. Let me tell you some of the developments that are going to come which threaten your country, and I want to know what your responses are going to be. Taliban will take over Pakistan within the next 2 years. They're already there, all over. You will see that the other day Taliban shot a woman in public view, nine bullets were pumped into her, and everybody cheered and even said Allahu Akbar and all that. It's an organized force. What has happened in Egypt? We said Tahrir movement, Arab Spring and all that. What is it now? Now they have brought dress codes for women. They even said that they should not go to school. It's not necessary women should go to school. It's same thing in Libya. Same thing will happen in Syria also. The fundamentalist elements will come to power. In Afghanistan, the Americans are looking for an excuse to leave. Ideally speaking, they should ask India to take over and then leave, but they may not. If Taliban takes over Afghanistan and Pakistan, then the war is next will be with India. Because Taliban has declared that India is an unfinished chapter of Islamic history. What does that mean? That everywhere else where we conquered a country, we made it 100% Muslim, but this country we have not. So it's an incomplete chapter. So you will have a war in your hands. For that you have to develop not a sattvic spirit, but a Virat attitude. You should be ready to fight and fight hard. Today we have got all people in power, they are not in a position to fight. With Sonia Gandhi there, what do you expect? She's only interested in looting the country. I call her Vishkanya. People say, why are you after her? She's a poor lady, she's wearing a sari, she's putting on bindi, she's trying to be a daughter-in-law and you are all the time criticizing her. I say, please learn from Ramayana. Ravan came to kidnap Sita not as Ravan, but as wearing Bhagwa Kapda. And therefore, just because she wears a sari, don't be fooled what her real mission is. Why does she want to foist her son in office? You mean there are not enough people? Party has got many people. So, we are in a situation where we are today so weak. And we have all kinds of funny statements are coming from different parts of the country. In Kashmir, 500,000 Hindus have been driven out. They are living in refugee camps. In your own country, the Hindus are refugees. Why? Because they are Hindus, nothing else. Umar Farooq Mirwais, he recently gave a statement that no Israeli tourist should be allowed in Kashmir because we are a Muslim majority state. That's a wonderful thing to say. I mean, your foreign policy will be decided by the composition. That means the Muslims of India, they don't have a national policy on national foreign policy. But if the Muslims don't like Israel, then the rest of India also should not like Israel. Israel is helping you defense-wise in so many other ways. So I am saying to you that today I want a unity of Hindus for the same reason that Chanakya wanted. To create a Virat Hindu psychology. Otherwise you will not be able to fight the threats that this country is facing. We have a massive threat facing us. The moment the Americans leave Afghanistan, there will be a vacuum. If you are able to fill it, it's another matter. Otherwise, you've got a war on your hands. Of course, we will win the war, but it will be at a very heavy cost. So therefore, you must start thinking about it. In India, we are working on it. I am not giving you a lecture just like that. We are working on it in India. If there are 83% Hindus, even if half the Hindus unite and vote for a Hindu party, then you will get 2/3 majority in parliament. Presently 28% of Hindus are voting. So I want only another 15% to join. We are working on it. And that if the Muslim and Christian wants to join us, welcome. But you must accept that you are as much a part of this country, of India, as we are, as we Hindus are. And that can only be if you say, my ancestors were Hindus. We therefore today have a major task before us. The country today is going to face major problems. We are already being weakened by corruption. Fortunately, thanks to the Supreme Court today, the situation has changed. Don't worry about corruption anymore because the mood in the country has changed. Everywhere I find people are quite excited. I don't know whether I told you in my, whether you have seen this comment of mine in any newspaper. The Tiyab jail superintendent once sent a complaint to me. He said, he told my friend, this Swamy is only sending Madrasis to jail. Raja, Kannimuri, Maran, now Chidambaram. So I said, what is wrong with that? He says that they will come and the Babarji complains they all want masala dosa and he doesn't know anything but aloo puri. So I told him that tomorrow if some Italian lady comes, she will ask for pizza. What will you do then? There is excitement today in India. People told me before, there is India, you see, corruption is our way of our life. Nothing will happen. No minister will go to jail. Today I will tell you that today ministers are not being convicted yet, but they will be convicted over a period of time. By the end of this year, Raja will at least get a sentence of 21 years. And others will follow. And we are at it. I have come here to America for 2 weeks because from August all these cases are starting again. On 3rd August my first case about Chidambaram is coming up. And once you create the fear that even ministers can be caught, then I can tell you it will all improve matters. Already people are saying, the people are getting afraid that if you do corruption you might get caught. So the question of corruption I think we have got it under control. I want to say one thing about India. You can never tell what will change something. When I was fighting the emergency, people are asking me, how will this emergency ever go? Everything is quiet in India. People have accepted the emergency. We are a poor country. And therefore democracy means nothing to our people. They want food in their bellies. This is how they used to discourage me. I said, I don't know anything. I don't know how this emergency is going to go, but I am going to continue fighting. One day Mrs. Gandhi declared an election. And she then lost the election. If I had said, emergency will go because Mrs. Gandhi will declare an election and then she will lose the election, people would have thought I was mad. But that's what happened. Indian solutions come from nowhere, it suddenly drops in. But for that to happen, you must be positioned. We had an underground movement and that is why Janata Party was able to win the election. But the people were ready for it and an instrument was also ready. So therefore our job is not to say nothing will happen. That is a way where everybody makes other people become disheartened. Sometimes people ask me, aren't you afraid of your life? Well, why should I be afraid of my life? Other people should be afraid of their lives, what I might do to them. Life is given to you by God. How can anybody take it away unless your time comes? So therefore, this fear should go. Oh, something will happen to me. All right, this is a job for politicians. No, everybody must take the view that I will participate fully in the formation of a new Virat Hindustan. And I will not discourage anybody. At least this much you can do. Many places people ask me, what do you want us to do? I say, 2 things only. Never say nothing will happen. Say, no, it must happen. I'm not saying that you have to say it will happen, but you say it must happen. India must become clean. India must become strong. India must wipe out terrorism. Say that. And 2, teach your children Sanskrit. You see the transformation that takes place. These 2 things you can do as NRIs. There's no need for you to do very much more. Of course, in the emergency, I remember NRIs used to tell their people, their relatives in India, what was going on, because I used to give them data here and they used to pass it on to people. There, people are not getting it because of press censorship. But here, because of that, same way today, you are highly respected people in India because you have done so well here. You are professionals and you have done so well. And so therefore today, I will say that if you exude this confidence, yes, India will become a power, will become a global power, and it must clean up corruption, it must have better people. If you keep this encouragement going, you will see the transformation taking place. We are going to become a world power, I can tell you that. We were a world power. All this turmoil you are seeing is to the good of the country. A new Indian is being born, and that Indian will draw its sustenance from our past history, from our past civilization, our continuing civilization, and this new Indian will be a person who will, in fact, restore its position of the country to the situation it was when Huan Song came, or Fascian came, or Vasco da Gama came. That is what we should work on, that's what we should internally decide. Everything else is available in India. We have no shortages of anything. You are short of resources today. Auction spectrum, you will get 7 lakh rupees. How much did you get it before this Raja was caught? You got only 14,000 crores. I moved a petition in Supreme Court that all licenses should be cancelled and there should be fresh auction. Supreme Court cancelled all the licenses. And now auction has been ordered. How much are we going to get? 7 lakh crore rupees. What is our total tax bill? 5 lakh crore bills. Only the total tax collection of Indian government is 5 lakh crore rupees. And just by auctioning spectrum, you will get 7 lakh crore rupees. If you auction coal mines, you will get 21 lakh crore rupees. It has been approved by the CAG. If you auction sites for crude oil, you will get 11 lakh rupees. 11 lakh crore rupees extra. There is no shortage of resources in India. But if you follow the correct policies. Agriculture, we have such a huge potential in our country. The yield per acre in India is the lowest in the world. We can easily increase it. We are a country which is gifted by the fact that 12 months of the year you can do agriculture. Can you do 12 months of the year in America? No, because of snowfall you cannot do it. But in India you can do 12 months. In Europe you cannot do. Even in China you cannot do. But India you can do 12 months of the year. But what percentage acreage you grow more than one crop? Only 24%. Remaining 76% grows only one crop a year. Easily you can grow 3 crops. Yield is so low, if you give water, fertilizer and so on, the yield will go up. We have 150 million cows, 47 years. What's the average age of a Japanese? 50 years. This young population, 70% of our population is below the age of 35. If you put them through good schooling, through universities, we will become the innovators of the world in the future. There are many things which we need to innovate, which we can easily. Hydrogen fuel cells. If you can market hydrogen fuel cells, you won't need petrol for your cars. You can run it on hydrogen fuel cells. And if you do that, then the Arab countries will have to go back to their tents and their camels. They won't get enough buyers for their oil. Same thing with thorium. We have got 60% of the world's thorium. But it needs to convert, you need to convert this thorium into U-233, that is into uranium, and then use it for reactors. So that Homi Baba had seen 3 stages, 2 stages we already solved. 3rd stage you are about to solve when the Americans came and gave you Indo-US nuclear deal. Now why you want to do that? We will give you uranium, is what the Americans said. We also fell for that trap. Now, it doesn't matter that the agreement is not harmed you, but this thorium research must not stop. If we can bring and make thorium as a viable fuel, you will be able tomorrow to make this country totally self-sufficient in energy. So these are some of the potentials that are there. And India is today sitting literally on a huge potential, which they call for population as demographic dividend and so on. But it requires a determination to do it. And for that we need what I call as this Virat Hindu psychology. And that is what we should all work towards. Let us resolve that during our lifetime we'll make India into a developed country and not show any diffidence in this matter. That is what should be the message of Chanakya, who out of nothing took a man who was a little boy who was tending to goats and built him up into an emperor. And that emperor, Chandragupta Gupta, was the one who brought the golden period to Hindu religion at that time. Thank you very much.
Yeah, questions and answers. Thank you.
A large number of questions. BJP has been a big disappointment for the last 5-7 years. Who do you think will voice or take care the concern of Hindus? Well, BJP should not be seen in isolation. It's really the RSS, Vishwa Parishad, and the other such organization affiliated, who are the important organizations. The difference between BJP and say Congress is Congress does not have a reservoir of talent to draw from. And there they depend only on one family. Whereas in the case of the BJP, they can always get a big reservoir, draw from a big reservoir of the RSS pool and the Vishnu Parishad pool. So I think just because the last 5-7 years you've been disappointed, there is no reason for you to feel that changes cannot come. Change can come very quickly. I certainly now, Janata Party has now become part of the NDA. So we work with BJP, we find a lot of talent in that party, and I think it will be maybe in another year you will see major changes. I don't see any reason for being disappointed about the future on the basis of what has happened in the past. There will be, I believe, changes. The cadre is still as strong as it was before. Your view on NCP leaving the government? Well, my view is this, that Sharad Pawar and perhaps some other Congress leaders have decided now is the time to put our foot down and see that Rahul Gandhi does not succeed Manmohan Singh. So I can't tell you more because that will be revealing secrets, but a lot of changes are ahead in the next two months. Problem is Ms. Sonia Gandhi's health being what it is, she is in a hurry to bring her son in. But son is a Buddha, so he is not in a position. In fact, once he went to UP and came back and said there was a mountain of corpses lying in Noida, which is near Delhi. And press people went running there and found it was a mountain of cow dung. Now if a man can mistake a mountain of cow dung for a mountain of corpses, then there's something wrong with them. So I think you can be assured that there is some major changes coming in Congress very soon. In the present India, when purity of religious leaders are doubtful, politicians' purity is completely ruined. Is it possible to have model? Well, as I told you, this despondency you must get rid of. First of all, not all religious leaders are impure. There are many good leaders, religious leaders, who are absolutely the hope of many people, not only in India but outside India also. And so therefore it is not so. Same thing with politicians. It is wrong to think that all politicians are corrupt. I would say in Parliament 75% of the MPs are honest. The only problem is that when they go for elections, people don't give them money. So they have to rely on party bosses who are corrupt. So therefore this problem arises because of that. I don't think that you should feel despondent. You will see many major changes happening in the coming 7-8 years. During the Mumbai attacks, you preached a tit for tat act. Do you think two wrongs make a right? Well, if Pakistan has camps where they are training terrorists, we should go and bomb the camps. What do we do? If not tit for tat, what do you do? That you get one hit on your cheek, you show the other cheek. No, that's not possible. That was Sattvic Hindu. I am not Sattvic Hindu. I want Virat Hindu. If Pakistan continues to trouble us, we should break it up into 4 countries. You are against Hindus converting. Is it fair to prevent people from following the choice of their faith? I have no problem people following choice of their faith. Recently, I argued this matter in Himachal Pradesh High Court because the Congress government there, before the present BJP government, had brought in a law saying that conversion should not take place on money and coercion and all that. And so some Christian organization appealed against it. So, therefore, the Himachal government requested me whether I can come and argue the matter. So I went and argued the matter. So the judge asked me the same question. He said, Mr. Swamy, what is wrong if Hindus are given freedom to convert? So I told him that we all preach that secularism is necessary in our country. I want to know which Muslim majority country is secular. Which Christian majority country is genuinely secular? Take England. What did the Prime Minister of England say on 18th December to the BBC this last year? He said that Britain is a Christian country. So the BBC asked him, but there are so many Muslims and Christians and Hindus and all here in Britain. He said that may be, but the character of Britain is Christian. There the king and queen of England cannot be king and queen if they are not Christian. So there is same thing here. Why Bobby Jindal converted to Christianity? Because if you are not Christian, you will not get vote. As a Hindu candidate, he will not get a vote. So that's why he is converted, Bobby Jindal is converted to Christianity. So I am saying that, I am not saying we should adopt that model, but I will say this, that in Saudi Arabia, there are so 8 million Hindus there as working. And they are not allowed to build a temple. They are not allowed to celebrate, have Satyanarayana Puja inside their house. They can't celebrate Diwali. And today I saw the Saudi Arabian government has issued a statement that in Ramzan, if you non-Muslims eat during the day, then it will be held for a reason for deportation. Is this not a fact? Can you build a temple in Saudi Arabia? No. Can you build a mosque in India? Of course you can. So I told the judge that India's secularism is safe only if we have an overwhelming majority of Hindus in our country, otherwise there will be no secularism in India. So it is not a question of my being fair. I want to protect secularism, I must be a majority. I don't want money to be used to convert. Nobody can convert a Hindu to another religion by logic, because the most liberal religious philosophy is that of a Hindu. This is how I feel, and this is what I am telling frankly. Others do not say frankly, but this is what they believe also. Then there is a question, what will be India's future in this vast development, politically and culturally? Of course, India is now, its destiny of India has come. India is going to be a great country. India is, you can see some turbulence here or there, but ultimately, by the end of this decade, I am telling you, 2020, India will become a world power, economically, politically, and culturally. What do you think is the long-term solution to the Kashmir problem? Well, you want to know my solution? They pushed out 500,000 Kashmiris, Hindus, from Kashmir. So what is the solution for that? Not to send back those Kashmiri Pandits, they will be butchered. Instead of that, I am suggesting that out of the 10 million ex-servicemen in our country, select 1 million of them who are able-bodied, ready to fight. Give them weapons and give them money and say, go and settle in Kashmir. Why? Because we passed Article 370 so that the religious ratio is not disturbed. Jawaharlal Nehru said Hindus should not go from India, rest of India, into Kashmir and change the religious composition of Kashmir. Therefore, there should be Article 370. What about Muslims driving away Hindus out of does that not change the religious composition? So how do I correct it? If they send out 5 lakhs, we send 10 lakhs back. That is the only way to solve it. Second thing is, all this nonsense about negotiated settlement in Pakistan, stop talking about it. The whole of Kashmir is a part of India. Why? Why? Because the king signed the instrument of accession. And that is final according to the Indian Independence Act of 1947, which act created Pakistan. There was no Pakistan at that time. So the British had to create Pakistan. They created by passing this Indian Independence Act in 1947, June 1947, in the British House of Parliament, in the House of Commons. And in that the instrument accession is there. If today Pakistan says, no, instrument accession we will not accept, you must have a plebiscite, then we will say that if you don't accept the instrument accession, that means you don't accept the Indian Independence Act of 1947, which means we will not have to accept Pakistan. We will say Pakistan is also an illegal state. But there is Jawaharlal Nehru, you see, he went to UN. Whose advice did he take? Did he take the advice of Sardar Patel? No. Did he take the advice of the cabinet? No. He took the advice of Edwin Mountbatten and went to the United Nations. I don't have to accept that. I have said it when I was minister, when the Pakistani delegation came to talk with our government. Mr. Chanakya was Prime Minister, and they said about that. I said, how can I accept? He said, no, Jawaharlal Nehru promised plebiscite. I said, Jawaharlal Nehru promised plebiscite, but it was not a cabinet decision. So I am not bound by it. You go and ask Jawaharlal Nehru. But I will not agree to this plebiscite because it has been written in the law that only the king will sign the instrument accession. You know what happened when the British left? They created 600 countries. They did not create India. 600 countries. And Sardar Patel sat and talked to each one of them, and 450 converted to sign the instrument accession and join India. That's how India came into being. One country was left to Jawaharlal Nehru and he made a mess of it, you see. So I will say, Kashmir, you have your mind clear, not an inch. And whatever is there in Pakistan, that also has to come back. And that will come back someday. It doesn't mean that today if you can't get it, you can't get it in the future. Now, there is a question on corruption. Price versus quantity, this is too complicated for me to handle. Let me see some other. CBI judiciary seem to work for Sonia. I feel all your efforts against corruption will fail in the courts after seeing the verdict of Mayawati's case. Well, I am not handling Mayawati's case. So therefore, if Mayawati cases fail, I am not responsible. I can't take every case because I am a private individual, so I can only have 24 hours a day and I have to fight the government. It requires a lot of effort. But I will say that those cases which I am handling, in particular 2G, there nobody will escape. I will see to it everybody goes inside. CBI may work for Sonia Gandhi, but we have a system in court which I have used, court monitoring of CBI. CBI is to come and give an explanation. Why have they done X and not Y? They have to, on 3rd of August, they have to give an explanation why they have not made Chidambaram a co-accused in the Aircel Maxis deal. So like that, we can make the CBI also perform through the courts. In your opinion and assumptions, how long will it take for India to be corruption free? Well, is there any country in the world which is corruption free? But to minimize the corruption to a level where in your daily lives you are not harassed, I will say within 5 years it will happen. Has it happened anywhere in India? Yes, the railway reservations used to be fully corrupt. You could not get a railway reservation without paying. Today you don't have a problem because the computers decide who will get the railway reservation. So we can find ways by which you can clean up little bits, and once you get a few big politicians in jail, you will see the whole climate will change. Well, I think I have taken a few representatives. There are so many questions.
There are more questions on Hinduism.
Oh, well, Hinduism, let's see. How do you wake up pseudo-secular India? Well, vote them out. Next time you get an election, you vote them out. They are already happening. You see what happened in the state elections. Just now you see the local bodies election. Amity finished. It has gone to BJP. Raebareli gone. All these Congress people are getting wiped out everywhere. So I think you can be assured that the pseudo-secular will soon be out. What would you be the top 3 lessons for Hindu children growing up in the US? Well, first lesson, learn Sanskrit. Second lesson, learn the correct history of India. Third lesson, know the fundamentals of your religion, how it is different from other religions. And teach them without any hatred, of course. We are not in favor, Hindus are not in favor of hatred against any religion. For a moderate Hindu who does not believe in extremist protests, what does future hold for peaceful communication, my displeasure at silent prosecution of Hindu majority? Well, no, extremist protest, who is protesting in an extremist protest? There is no extremist protest of Hindus in India. Because Hindus can never be extremists. Extremists you can be only if you are a follower of a prophet. We are not a follower of any prophet. We are followers of books. The Vedas, the Upanishads, the Aranyakas. These books we follow. And those books can be amended also. The Shastras, for example, can be amended any time. So it is a scientific religion and therefore there cannot be any extremism. But I will say that those of you who want to peacefully communicate, and I will suggest everybody should only peacefully communicate. Nobody should violently communicate. If anyone violently communicates, we will stand up. If there is injustice done to Muslim community, we will stand up. In Meerut, there was a genocide in which Mr. Chidambaram gave an order to kill 41 boys at gunpoint by the PAC. It is I who has taken it up. I am supposed to be a Hindutvavadi and all that, but nobody else took it up, but I have taken it up. If you are a good Hindu, you will not stand for injustice anywhere. So, future peacefully communicating, very easy. Just speak out and everything will be fine. Can you talk about the roots of Hinduism as a religion? Some argue that Hindu is a dharma, a way of life. No, there are some rules which cannot be changed. All paths, all religions lead to God. The Hindu belief. It is not a way of life. We are, as an ideology, we are saying. We are saying that your life is determined by your karma. That is also a Hindu philosophy. We believe in reincarnation. That is also a philosophy of Hinduism. We believe you can see God in this life. Other religions say you can see God only after you die. Then only you will go and see God. But we in Hindus say, if you follow the discipline that is told to you by the Rishi Munis of the past, then you can see God in this life. This is a Hindu view which nobody else has. So there is a very fundamental distinction between Hindu religion and other religions. Do you think religion in India, Bharat, actually is inhibiting our genuine economic growth? We were a very religious country 1,000 years ago and we were the most developed materially. What has religion and politics got to do with it? It has got nothing to do with it. Economic development is a scientific basis on which you increase investment in innovation and you will get economic growth. Now, let's see. Most of them are similar questions. Okay, one more question. Why is it that the Hindu majority is suffering? Why are we subsidizing Hajj, Bethlehem and pilgrimage expenses? Well, that is because you Hindu majority have been voting Congress party, that's why this is happening. One question, schools are a base for young minds for India. How much Hinduism is taught in school? You don't need Hinduism to be taught in school. Parents should teach Hinduism. In the house, you should participate in all the religious festivals. And in my opinion, nowadays television also is teaching a lot of Hinduism through cartoons and so on. I see all young kids now are able to tell me so many stories which I didn't know as a little boy, but because they are watching television. So I think we should continue our informal methods of teaching religion, and we should not use the school